जितना हमको मालूम है, नमाज I was always taught नीयत से पढ़ी जाती है. You have to believe in it yourself. Nobody can teach you. We are taught 5 वक्त नमाज पढ़ना जरूरी है, but not every Muslim follows it. Somewhere down the line,
do you follow it?
No, I'm not able to follow it, and I'm very honest about it. I would love to, but I can't. But I think of Allah every moment of my life. So my logic is that let's play it like that. That see, अगर आप नहीं कर रहे किसी वजह से, अगर इस फिल्म के अंदर जो सीन था कि ये जो कपल है वो नहीं कर सकता, और एक और सीन भी है बहुत खूबसूरत जिसमें वो कहता है अल्लाह मियाँ समझ जाएंगे, you don't have to wear the hijab. So God will understand if you're stressed right now. But those who believe, go and do it, and it's absolutely all right. So we wanted it to be as normal without picking on the other character and saying, तुम क्यों नहीं पढ़ रहे नमाज? ये गलत है. It's okay, I understand. You're scared, you're defensive, you're worried right now to read namaz in front of people who you believe may not understand what you're doing or look down upon it or not rightly. But there's another character who says, but I think it's absolutely okay to go ahead and do it because niyat mein mere is waqt namaz padhna hai. So I think I would say those are the teachings I believe in also, personally.
In your actual life? In
my actual life. I truly believe that it is, my religion does define me, most certainly. I'm very proud to be a Muslim. But what people would say is I'm an easier going Muslim.
Yeah. Kabir Khan, you with the opposite argument, which I find interesting, about saying that in a sense our cinema would have arrived when you can have a regular hero who happens to be called Shahrukh, who doesn't have to be this person who wears his religion on his sleeve. And we haven't kind of got to that yet, have we?
No. Every time there's a Muslim character in a film, he's there because the plot demands a Muslim to be in that story. I'm saying Dostana. John can be a Muslim character. The film remains exactly the same, not a iota changes. Such as his name is Rizwan.
I mean, could that have been?
It totally could have been, but we didn't. And no one does. It's very strange. He's right.
And no one does. And that's the point. Why doesn't anybody? Go ahead.
Neither have I. I mean, even my films, the protagonists have been Muslims because the story demanded it. But I'm saying that's the time when we'll actually be able to break out of stereotypes. The problem is right now, whenever we portray a minority, it's always a stereotype because that minority is his religious or her religious identity is playing a part in the story. We need to be able to slip in other sort of religious characters without having to deal with their religious identity. That's when we'll truly start breaking away from stereotypes.
But Alec, if I can ask you, is there a problem with that formulation? Because somehow in the way we all think, you're a liberal Muslim almost only if you're non-religious. And the moment you say, "Main namaz padhta hu," you're immediately branded a conservative, almost a fundamentalist.
Yeah, and then the problem is that I think Islam is misunderstood. And 2 years ago, in fact, this thing bothered me a great deal. And I asked the Maulanas and all the religious leaders of Islam, what is it? Is Islam saying that we believe in violence? And this is the biggest point. And I was told on very good authority that no, Islam in fact means peace, the very word. It's like shalom in Israel, which is used in the Jewish faith. And this means that in the Quran, that if you kill a single innocent person, it means that you're going against the Quran. And once that was clear, I then said, if so many fatwas have been passed by the religious heads of Islam, I then spoke to my friend Maulana Badni, and I said, why can't you pass a fatwa saying that anyone who kills an innocent person is going against the Quran? And I must say very courageously, and he'll tell you more about it, he then devised a fatwa which was pronounced in Delhi in 2007. And just to come back to your main point, which is you don't have to be a liberal anything to be accepted in society. Idea of God, and this is what's misunderstood in our country, that the idea of God, he is a God of love and peace, and not a God of violence.
But Alec, nobody would disagree with you, and yet clearly it's not that simple. And there is a reason it's not that simple. And Karan, it's interesting that this is something that is obviously occupied. Shahrukh, have you ever experienced the prejudice? Of course, Kabir has spoken about, not getting a US visa a few times because of your name. You were stopped famously at an airport, held on to for a couple of hours. Some people thought that was the prelude to, my name is Khan.
Yeah, right. Obama's on our speed dial.
But have you let's say post 26/11, do you feel, and because Najib Jung has written about this, the pressure on Muslims to wear their patriotism, to wear their badge of loyalty, do you feel that even at your stage in life, somehow that you are looked upon as a Muslim to make that condemnation clear all the time, that even you are expected to clarify your position on your religion and terrorism and fundamentalism and all the rest of it?
See, I'll be very honest. I mean, what I say sometimes on public platforms, and I say them because I'm an entertainer, I'm an actor, but I don't think ever, if I'm questioned or have to clarify my stand on being a Muslim or an Indian, I would actually from my heart never clarify it. But yes, of course, if somebody's not understanding it, I'd say it. I've had no big prejudice against me, and that's what I want all the young Muslims to know very, very clearly, wherever they are coming from. That first, let's just get that out of our heads, that people are prejudiced.
But is that because you're Shahrukh Khan?
I don't know. See,
before you were Shahrukh Khan, I guess those were different times. We
I was
didn't
25, 20 to 25 is the time I can talk about. But I've never been picked on about my, the religion I belong to. And I really want this to be very clear. If we keep on also thinking, see, forget the fact that there is a certain section of people, because of the action of certain section of people, think that Islam is a violent religion. Accept it. But we as Muslims, I think we need to be very clear. Let's take this out that I need to explain it. Like, I'll tell you very honestly, my kids get stopped at security because their name is Khan also. It comes on that in America specifically. They have those SSS things on it. They go, so they say, why have you stopped? So I say, it's fun, we are special. So they just go down, they really do. We're taken to a different section with those feet on the ground. So they just stand and I say, we are special. You guys are stars. So, hopefully they'll grow up thinking they are Muslim. But I don't have any issue with it because I think it's all right. If action of some people have put a little blot, or to say the least, on the whole religion, I think we need to accept it and say it's all right, and we're not paying a price for it. That I won't do. I will never try to tell anyone. I'm not going to justify to anyone how good it is to be a Muslim. I'm not going to justify to anyone how wonderful it is to be an Indian. But I'm very clear that yes, we have to accept the fact that there is a blot. There is some kind of a dog. And if it is there, certain things are going to be said against us. This is the life we lead. These are the times we have created. This is the world we have chosen upon ourselves by the action of you. Now, that is why it is more important that if all of us start thinking like this, okay, look, let me go and let Karan decide. I like this guy, who is Shahrukh, he's talented, he's an actor, and yes, I'm not a specialist in my religion. I'm not a specialist.
Yeah.
Many a times people ask me, do you do this? And I'm like, no, but I'm still a Muslim.
Yeah.
You do this, like even singing and dancing, in a certain sense, in a very
orthodox
sense,
of it,
is the wrong thing to do. But I make a living out of singing and dancing. So how do I explain? My logic is, please can we understand all the clergy, all the mullahs, all the ulemas who know that they're specialists. Just because I'm not a specialist does not make me less of a Muslim.
You're on TV more than I am. But the image, this construct of this image, which Najib says is actually offensive to a lot of people of our generation. Where does this construct come from? That when you think of the Muslim in visual images, almost always is somebody like yourself.
Actually, as far as Muslims are concerned, when I see a Muslim wearing a cap, having a beard, I'm proud of it. When I see a lady covering her head, I'm proud of it. First, you should understand what is the meaning of the word Muslim. Muslim means a person who submits his will to Almighty God. And Islam, to understand Islam, don't look at the Muslims. To understand Hinduism, don't look at the Hindus. Go to the original scriptures. So if you go to the scriptures, the Quran and the Sahih Hadith, I'm sorry, I differ with Brother Najib. There are various hadith in Sahih Bukhari, if you read volume number 7, in the book of dress, that the Prophet covered his head. So covering the head is the sunnah of the Prophet. So to say that covering the head is not a part of Muslimanity is totally wrong. The beard is a part of the Muslim identity. Wearing the cap, or at least covering the head, whether
thing with, I just want to know very clearly, and I'm a Muslim, and I want to know, is it more important for me to look Muslim and see Muslim, or to feel Muslim? I fully respect the scriptures. I fully respect all the hadiths. I have read the Quran in my own way, in Arabic and in English. But I think its time has come, and this genuinely is an appeal, that it is more important to feel Muslim, to feel Hindu, than to look it. And if you do, it's absolutely cool. And if you don't, it's absolutely cool.
Dr. I quick response to that, and I've got two guests waiting to speak.
The best is to practice Muslim, is number one.
Yes.
Appearing is important, but lower down. I'm not saying appearing is the most important. For a person to practice Islam is more important. Beard comes lower down. Beard is not in the 70 major sins that it's not there.
But you know,
The beard
what about
becomes
what Kabir is saying? And there was a story of a young boy whom I interviewed who studies in a convent school in Madhya Pradesh. And he's a poor boy. And the school rules wouldn't allow him to wear a beard. He went all the way to the Supreme Court to say, I must be allowed to keep my beard. Otherwise, I prefer not to study. And he actually dropped out of school for a while because of that. The Supreme Court eventually ruled in his favor. And that is my next question, and I want to take that to Madani Saab. Madani Saab, you're a very interesting character for me, because at one level, you have organized, as Alex said, all of these fatwas against terrorism and all of that. But you also had a resolution against the singing of Vande Mataram. And these kind of resolutions, I know many of my friends would say is what stereotypes Muslims.
बात ये है कि वंदे मातरम गाना बिल्कुल अलग चीज है.
अलग चीज है.
हाँ, गाने के लिए जिद करना बिल्कुल एक अलग चीज है. कोई जबरदस्ती गवाना चाहे और नहीं गाएं, या हम ये कहें हम नहीं गाते, तो फिर हम स्टीरियोटाइप हो जाएंगे. टेररिज्म की मुखालिफत करेंगे तो बहुत अच्छे हो जाएंगे. ये जो डबल मामला चलता है, ये ठीक नहीं. अभी मेरे दाढ़ी नहीं हो और कुर्ता पैजामा नहीं हो, ये भी जो पगड़ी से तो लोग बहुत डरते हैं ना, कहते हैं ये तो एक बच्चा एयरपोर्ट पे कहता है मदनी साहब मामा मामा देखो बिन लादेन जा रहा है ना. तो क्या हो गया है, अब ये सब मैं उतार दूं तो मैं एक रीजनेबल मुसलमान हो सकता हूं, एक ऐसा मुसलमान हो सकता हूं जो बहुत अच्छा आदमी है. और अगर मैंने ये पहन लिया तो ख्यालात मेरे कितने अच्छे हों. ख्यालात, नजरियात, आइडियोलॉजी, ये है बेसिक चीज, या बेसिक चीज हमारी दिखने वाली चीज है.
That's the reverse stereotype, that the moment you see the beard and the skull cap, it's got to. Before we return to our panel, let's hear from some people in the audience. Yes.
My question is, much as it's easy for a Shahrukh Khan or a Sohail Ali Khan or a Kabir Khan to say that we can be liberal and still we can get along in society, what happens to the younger generation of Muslims? Is it easy for them to say that we want to be liberals, we don't want to carry ourselves into the conservative group, or are they actually shadowed by the gather of the people around them?
Who wants to take that? I mean, someone who's had an experience, in a sense, with straddling between orthodox. Shahrukh, what would you say to your kids? I mean, how important is it for you for them to have a sense of their faith?
No, very clearly they need to have a sense of their faith, because my parents have brought me up with this faith, and I'm very, very proud of this faith. It's taught me a lot of nice things, and I think a lot of the things that I lead in life, though leading an immensely commercial and a glamorous life, so to say, from the outside, I think all the good things that I think I'm doing, because I always go back to my faith and remember, okay, we have to be tolerant, and I want my children to know this faith very clearly.
But if your kids asked you, what is my religion, what would you say?
My daughter did ask me one day. She came back and she said, you know, teacher, once somebody asked her, that, are you a Hindu or a Muslim? And I said, say you're a Christian. It's absolutely all right. We are Indians. Let's not go there. But yes, I make them pray as much as I can in the
Both
Islamic
faiths.
way. My wife does it in her faith. And the fact is that we are very clear that we accept it with ease.
Kabir, you wanted to say
I was
something?
just saying it's a very idealistic sort of a thought, but I wish religion was something we were all allowed to choose when we were 21. The issue is we all born into religions. They are habits. We don't choose our religions.
It's an interesting thought.
No, this point I'd like to comment on. I lecture to college students, and one of the things is, I lecture, do you want to follow the same values as your parents? Why are you a Muslim? Why are you a Hindu? Why are you a Christian? And nobody knows why. And then finally they realize that they've inherited from their parents a religion. But you don't have to.
But as
I
Kabir-
refuse
as
to
Kabir
inherit
said-
from my parents a religion.
But Alec, as
I
Kabir
gave it
said,
up.
religion can often be cultural more than scripture driven.
Yeah.
It's just the exposure you grew up with. Let's take a question from this young lady here. Yes.
I really don't understand what is being a moderate Muslim. I think I'm just a Muslim. I'm a normal Muslim. I don't find any difference wearing a hijab. I don't feel different from any other lady sitting around over here. So what is such a big issue about
Can
it?
I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Suppose you
sure.
had a friend
Yeah.
who was also your faith and they did not want to wear the hijab. Would that be okay with you?
I don't have a problem with what she follows. Though what I follow, what I believe in, I would really like to explain it to her. Okay, see, this is what I believe in. And it depends, it's obviously her own wish. Like faith cannot be forced. But it can always be explained and told, see, this is right and this is wrong. Now it's up to you whether you believe it or you follow it.
Just a minute. I'm sure someone has a question on that, but I want to go back to Karan on this. One of the interesting images of My Name is Khan was Shahrukh's sister-in-law, the character who plays Shahrukh's sister-in-law, being forced after 9/11 to go out without her hijab. And in a sense, that was the vulnerability of the Muslim in post 9/11 America. But you used the hijab in a sense as a symbol of religious independence. But a lot of women have not resolved the question of the headscarf.
To me, the hijab is truly representative of the identity of the woman, and it's also a part of her religion and what brought her up. This came out of our research. I went to various organizations like CARE and ACLU in America, and there were millions, I mean lots of women in America who had to give up the hijab because they didn't want those stares at tube stations or food markets. Families forced them. There were husbands that really forced them to give up the hijab. But eventually, I felt she touched base with herself and her identity. There were moments that we actually had to edit out where throughout there were times where actually she would just, her hand would go towards the head because she just felt different. And that bothered her on an emotional, on a physical level.
Can I just say one thing? Sure. I don't think that action condemns, I condemn the people who've done, say, what we showed in the film or anywhere in the world, but I don't condemn it as an anti-religious act. I condemn it as an anti-free will act. If she wants to, faith is about free will. If she wants to wear it, it's absolutely all right. It could be a hijab, it could be a bikini, it could be a t-shirt, it could be a shirt, it could be whatever.
Intimidation. लेकिन ये अगर अपने शौक से पहन रही हैं और मैं अपने शौक से दाढ़ी रख रहा हूँ तो मुझे हक तो है पूरा, लेकिन मैं मॉडरेट मुस्लिम नहीं हो सकता. ये भी एक बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है.
नहीं, इतना हमें भी कैरिकेचर मत करिए मीडिया में. But so you were saying, I was saying intimidation.
Free will. I have a problem with people who exert violence or force on you, which is scary. Then as a person, whether you choose to stand up for your identity or not, if somebody tells you you cannot, you must not, that is what I have a problem with in a country where we're supposed to respect free speech.
Najib, but look at the debate in France. Sarkozy wants to ban any overt religious symbolism, whether it's the turban or the hijab in public.
Ridiculous.
That's ridiculous?
That is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
How can you ban somebody's belief?
Because that's the verse of the Quran. In Surah Imran chapter 3, 110, it is the duty of every Muslim, as Allah says, Kuntum khaira ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar. That we have made you the best of community because you enjoy what is good and forbid what is wrong. If you feel that you are doing something wrong, if I feel that you're doing an act which will harm you, for example, you're having drugs, so it's my duty as a good human being to tell you don't have drugs, it's going to harm you. That time people won't object. So similarly, when I feel if someone is doing something wrong which is bad for his human body, and if I tell him, so why do people object? But that's my belief.
But Kabir would call this a lot of ritualism that creates that construct.
It is not ritualism.
Yeah, so in this whole free will, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just...
I'm not trying to go...
If I could ask you a question, does your mother wear a hijab? Your mother wears a hijab. Now, here's where the free will comes in. It's a thought. I wonder if she would still choose to wear, if her mother was not wearing a hijab and when she came of age, she was given the choice.
It's our own model.
Very difficult.
I would really like to answer this question.
Because I've sort of been born and brought up in a Muslim family, and I've seen this in my own large extended family, and I've seen only the parts of the family where the mother's been wearing hijab, the daughter has taken to hijab, my cousins. And the mother who has not been wearing hijab, strangely, the daughter has not taken up the hijab. So I'm a little confused about this.
So free will is a complicated thing. Okay, I'm seeing lots of hands here before I go back to... Yeah, hang on. Go ahead.
I'm a Muslim. I think the burqa or the hijab should be personal choice. As she said that she is okay with a friend who's not wearing, but she'll explain to her that this is wrong. So that means she does take it somewhere that it's wrong if you're not wearing it. Which is not, because at the end of the day, I don't know Islam too much, but I know that much that's been passed on to me by my parents.
She's entitled to her opinion.
Would you consider it wrong if I told her, darling, wear dresses, not a t-shirt?
No,
can't we take it as easy as that?
But I would also say, Shahrukh, I'm not comfortable. We'd have a discussion about it.
Yeah, once again, let me just hear some more voices. Dr. Naik, give me a second. There are lots of voices here. I just want to get some of them.
My mom does not wear a hijab. And I remember that when my sister entered her 10th, she's my elder sister, so she opted to wear a hijab because she wanted to wear it. Unfortunately, she was not accepted by the society where we live in, and there used to be continuous query about it, that as to why she wearing a hijab. In fact, all the society used to think that my mom has become very, very strict with my sister.
So you're saying your mother doesn't wear one, but your sister wore one of free will.
Yeah,
that's
the
free will.
society.
That I would accept as free will.
Yeah.
You want to stand up and just make your point, then I go back to the panel.
See, the point is, she decided to take the hijab after her 10th standard. Did anyone ask her why? And if people were being curious about it, I mean, it's natural. If you've seen someone growing up in front of you and her mom doesn't wear a hijab and suddenly she decides to don one, you are going to worry, right? It's like, what's happening? Why is she doing this?
Okay, one second. That's the operative part. You are going to worry. Hang on, guys. Hang on. 1 second. We'll go back to the panel. You want to say something?
Yeah, why would you worry? I mean, if tomorrow if I start wearing Western clothes, will you worry about my psychological effect? I don't think so.
Okay. Of the fact that there are still questions raised about fundamentalist thought. Not that somebody is a Muslim and is a terrorist, but that somebody sympathizes with the cause. For example, when you are questioned, and I know because you deal with live audiences all the time, about groups like the Taliban, groups like the Al-Qaeda, groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba, how do you resolve those questions? What is Osama bin Laden for you?
Main thing what I say, that I cannot base my answer on the media. Because if you ask me, how is bin Laden? If I have to give my answer based on BBC, CNN, it will be against the Quran. Quran says...
You mean you still have doubts about Osama bin Laden?
Yes. Why? I'll tell you why. I have my doubts. Because Quran says...
That's a really provocative thing to say, and some would say would deeply stereotype.
Why? Because I have seen the DVDs produced by the 75 scientists of America. They say it is impossible for few Arabs to come and do the Twin Tower. I have seen, because I'm a man who travels throughout the world.
Come on, Dr. Naik. Come on, Dr. Naik.
And I have seen many DVDs, and I can give it to you if you see the loose change, if you see 9/11. What I have done, I'm a man of research. And Quran says, when you get information, check it up before you pass on to the second. I'm not saying bin Laden is a terrorist or a saint. I say, I don't know. Because the proof that has been given, I've got counter proof by the other people.
You haven't seen his Al Jazeera videos?
Of course I've seen.
That's not evidence.
I'll gone to Malaysia. There was a couple who were doctors who went to Malaysia. And they told that, people normally say that the Taliban are beating the women. So she told me, she was the gynecologist, those people can't be Taliban. I said, why? I thought they were Taliban. They said, I've been in Afghanistan. The way the Taliban tied the turban, the people that were shown on Natural Geography, people that were shown on BBC and CNN, they can't be Taliban because the turban were not...
But then, there is no end to conspiracy theory. But there is a deeper problem here, sir. There's so many millions of people. And I want to say this to you with no offense. There are so many millions of Muslims who follow you, who hang on every word you say. And you are saying this to them. Najib, is there a danger in that?
That's the reason I cannot say something wrong. I'm not saying it's the same. Because I've got no proof.
Okay, you made your point. Najib and then Madani Sahab.
I must intervene because
And let me start with you, Dr. Naik.
The Muslim should know how to reply to the misconceptions about Islam. Today, if you analyze the media, for example, just about more than a week back, you found in the headlines that there was a bomb in Pune, about 19 people were killed, suspects Muslim. Same time, there were about 16 policemen killed.
That was also a headline.
It came
that was also a headline.
Why are you saying Muslims killing? So the others are Maoists, the others are, some other organization, but the Muslims are a religious grouping. It's weird. Why don't we say, whatever those people are? I mean, why do we always have to divide it in?
Yet, Madani Saab, you felt the need to use the Deoband to do that fatwa against terrorism. कहाँ से आया वो fatwa क्यों आया?
जब ये नहीं खड़े हो रहे थे?
नहीं, पर
ये नहीं खड़े हुए, लोग नहीं खड़े हो रहे थे. आज भी यही पोजीशन है कि इस्लाम के नाम पर जिहादी तहरीक चलाने की बाहर से कुछ कोशिशें हो रही. हमने कहा ये जिहादी नहीं है, फसादी है.
I've always felt very strongly, and I feel strongly because it comes from a space of understanding around me. I'm not saying a film can change a mind space, it can't change the mental makeup of this country, but if you can go back home and question your beliefs about a community, then I think maybe I've serviced cinema in some way.
I personally feel as a Muslim, I'd like to tell every Muslim that if you don't know your religion well enough, if you're not able to practice it well enough, if your knowledge is less, Allah Ta'ala aapko maaf kar denge. Lekin being a Muslim, if you're not able to explain your religion to the other people who are not understanding it, ye dunya aapko maaf nahi karegi. You need to be very, very clear that we cannot take this stand कि अगर आप समझते नहीं मत समझो मैं तो लड़ूंगा नहीं. Acceptance of this and explaining is what I think in the long run will sort out the problem.
Well, I think it's fair to say where we started that there is a crisis, but I think to hear all of you today, you may not agree on everything, but you agree on a lot of basic core things at the heart of it. And one is, I think as Kabir said, that terrorism doesn't have a religion.